Hi, it's Rachel here. I'm back with my butterfly patch for Homespun magazine, and I'm going on with the butterfly. I've already appliqued this part here, and this side I just did a video in Italian, and here I did not video it, but what I did was once I had appliqued this, I had to adjust where I had pinned them. So, and the same over here. I've appliqued this part. But what I want to do is just remove this and check that when I applique this one, it's going to be under this. So I'm thinking I might have to adjust it slightly and just move it over like that and then pin it, and then I'll just check that one, and that one's going to be okay then. So what I'll do is I'll applique this because it's underneath, and then I'll put the blue one back. And I've got my thread ready here. So it's the same process as before. So I'll just start by turning this bit under here, and I think I'll start from the bottom so it doesn't become too bulky. And I'll put my thread through, and then just, this one's pretty straight until you get to the top, so it's pretty quick. Start with my stitching. Here I'm just turning it with my fingers because it's fairly easy. Oops, and I've lost my thread. Just a second. Okay, here I am again. So always holding it in place with my thumb and placing my little one stitch at a time. And here I can already remove the pin. I don't need that. And just turning it. Until we come to the curve part just here. And then I'll do a smaller piece at a time so I can get the curve. So here, just turn a little. You might place your stitches a little bit closer here. Okay, so just turn it. Then always remember to adjust with your pin, your needle. If you have a little point, just push it in with your needle. And turning around, it's fairly quick. Just turn a little bit under there, see if it's okay. Yeah, I think it's popped out there. Yes, and tuck it under and place your stitch. And now we're coming, don't like that little point there, just push it under and place a stitch. Oh my goodness, and my thread's come out again. There's a little dog yelping in the house next door. Don't know if anybody can hear that, but I'm wondering what's happening to the poor thing. Sounds like a puppy. But nobody seems to be going and helping him. Maybe nobody's home. And down we go the other side. When you're going, oh my goodness, the needle again, to thread it again. Third time lucky. Okay. So continue on until we get to the end, and then I might just do a little sort of overstitch, like I put 2 stitches in there, and I'm not going to end off my thread because I can use this thread for my other piece, and I'm going to just pin it in place, make sure it's overlapping there and overlapping there, maybe a little bit like that. Oh, I know, one thing I wanted to say was obviously I've put my butterfly on, and it's not exactly in the same position as when I first did it for the magazine. It doesn't matter. You're always going to put a little bit of yourself into the project, so things might move around a little bit, as long as, you know, the overall look will be similar and pleasurable. It doesn't really matter if things aren't in the exact same place as the project in the magazine. So probably everything that I do this second time round will be slightly different, because it is handmade and it's very hard to replicate things exactly. So here again, I'm starting up my straight side, and I'm making sure it's going to be slightly overlapped here and slightly overlapped there, from over the other piece that we just appliqued. So try to do this quickly because I wanted to show the body. I didn't want the video to be too long. We'll have better things to do than sit and watch me applique simple bits. So round we go again. You'll all be experts at applique. Those who are doing the needle turn applique by the end of this project, you'll be able to do anything. Of course, there are other techniques. Yoko Saito also used, it kind of looks like, it's not a bone instrument like that you use to put creases in paper, but it's something similar that you can put the fabric on a soft surface, and you can use this instrument to crease in the lines, and then it's easier to turn them when you're stitching. I mean, I could show that in another video. I don't use it. I don't do it because I don't need to. I don't find it necessary, but some people do that. Some people make cardstock or cardboard templates, and then they iron. They put it on the back of the fabric and kind of crease it around with your fingers, and then iron the edges down so it takes the shape, and then take the cardboard out and then stitch it down. That could be quite an easy method. It would take longer, obviously, but if someone's having trouble with the needle turning, then it's kind of already all ironed down and turned for you, so you would skip that bit and just have to whip stitch it down. So that could be an interesting way of doing it. I've never done it. I don't normally do it. I might do that method if I had like really small circles to do, but you know, I did the berries freehand. They're not perfect, but they'll be fine once everything's put together. I don't want perfection because it's handmade. If I want perfection, I'll get it done in a factory. So, okay, so I'll end that off, and now we're going to stitch in the center of the butterfly, and that's done, and then it will be ready for embroidery. So I'm just going to stand up so I can see it better. Make sure I fold all these edges out, because when I was pinning these on the other side, I pinned it, this was tucked under and I pinned it. Luckily I realized otherwise I would have just stitched it. So I just want to place this, I'm just feeling it. So yeah, that's kind of good. And I'm going to pin it here, like this, and then I'm going to start stitching it. And then the butterfly will be, everything will be ready for, for the embroidery. So I've got my blue thread already prepared. I'm going to pop under, and I'm going to start here at the point. So I'm going to tuck it under. I'll show you in a second. Right at the point, I'm going to come up and I'm going to place a stitch, and I'm not going to come forward with my stitch. I'm going to go straight back down. So I'll show you here. I've come right up at the point. Oh, I did such a long thread, such a goose. And here I'm going to place my stitch and come back up. I'm going through my knot, that's why I can't do it. Come back up, see here, straight away, just to hold it in place. That's the secret with those. You have to hold them in, put an extra stitch to hold it in place. So now I'm going to use the magazine for inspiration. Go forward as normal. Here. keep on going and making sure I'm covering where all my other pieces meet in the center. I don't want any of those exposed. And around we go. And I've got a knot. Just stick my pin in there and needle in there and pull it out. So I'm just using regular, inexpensive sewing machine cotton. I have a array of colours that I can buy at the market here very inexpensively, so I just buy those. They're 100% cotton, but they do get knots sometimes, so that's a little bit annoying, but they do their job. So here we go. So I hope everybody had a lovely weekend. I went to the antique market in Cesena, which I did a little video of what I bought there. That was really cool. And then on Sunday, I went up to Verona with my friend to Villa Buri. They have a artisans market in this villa, and I'm going to be participating in it in September, so I went up to have a look. And there were a few stands there that I really liked, and managed to spend a little bit of money purchasing some beautiful hand-dyed antique hemp and cross-stitch linen. And the lady had done some really cool, it was all hand-dyed, and it had, they're inspired by India flint, and it had the fabrics were beautiful colours, and then, you know, with impressions of eucalyptus leaves and that sort of thing. And then she'd done some random sort of cross stitch here and there and embroidery on it, and looked really amazing. It's very hard to explain, and I wasn't able to take a photograph, so but I need to go and look at the lady's page and see if she has any other images of what she's done. I'm just going to go back to the applique now. So I've come to the point, I've come up at the point, I'm going to go back down, and I'm going to come back up pretty much where I came up before. I'm putting an extra point here, stitch here, to hold it in place, and that's really important, otherwise you won't be able to get your point properly. So pull it up like that, and then you can see here, if this is too long you can trim it off, but this is not too long. So what I do is I turn it down like that. You can see there, turn that down, and because I put the extra point in there, that the extra stitch, I want to say, sorry, it'll stay. And then I just start tucking it under as usual, and there we've got a lovely point. And you would do the same thing with leaves or anything where you come to a point. It's the exact method, and it works every time without a, oh, and I've unthreaded my needle again four times now. Let's see how many times it'll come undone down this side. Okay, so let's keep on going. So my next job here, obviously in this block, I'm really so far behind, is to do the embroidery. The embroidery in this patch is pretty simple. It's just all back stitch. I think the only stitches I did were back stitch, colonial knots or French knots, whichever you prefer. Sorry, I was off screen there, and then satin stitch. So I don't know if anybody needs or wants to see a video about those. They're fairly simple stitches to do, but if you would like a video maybe with the satin stitch and the colonial knots, just leave a comment, and I'll video while I'm doing a little bit of those, so you can see how I do them. I'm not an expert, but there's lots of videos on YouTube showing you how to do embroidery if you don't know how to do it, with people who are much better at it than I am. And of course, if you have any questions or you'd like to see how something is done, leave a message and I will see what I can do. And I've got a knot. Yep, not a nice one, this one. I think I got it. Of course, when you're trying not to take too long, everything takes a long time. So we're coming down to the point again here. I'll tuck in as much as I can, but before I get too close, I'm going to get my needle and I'm going to push that first I'm going to push it down like that, and then I'm going to push it in. You can use your finger, see? And in it goes. It's a bit out of focus. There we go. It's gone in. Make sure it's all in, and then place a couple more stitches and it is done. Then I'll go through the back and end it off, and the butterfly is done. Just another thing I might add is when I did this wreath, I didn't put the butterfly. I don't know if I mentioned it before. I didn't put the butterfly in straight away. The first thing I did was I put I appliqued on my wreath, obviously, and then I cut out all of my applique pieces for the flowers and the berries around the wreath, and then I pinned them all, and it was really annoying, but I left them all pinned there so that I could adjust and move things as I went and see that they were in the right position. I appliqued them all, and then the last thing I did was to put the butterfly in, because obviously, as I mentioned before, these things may not be in the exact same position as the magazine. They might move slightly when you're appliquing them, and so you might have to adjust where you put the butterfly. It won't be exactly the same unless you're an amazing sewer. I'm not amazing, so everything always works out different for me each time I do it. But it doesn't matter. Like, he's a little bit close there, but I don't care about that. It's meant to be nature, and when you have all the quilt together, you won't even notice. So that's it for today. Let me know if you want to see any of the embroidery. Otherwise, I will go on with that by myself. My next job is to start, I've got it open here for inspiration. I have to start doing the clamshells. I'll be honest, my sister did this part, and she is really amazing and incredibly precise. So I'll be interested to see how I go with the clamshells. I've read the instructions, obviously, and it doesn't sound too hard, but I know that people have been struggling with it, so I might struggle with it too. So maybe I'll start that, and then that'll be a video, but it might not happen for another week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.